Today we're talking about Let's Go to Prison. It's a 2006 comedy starring Dax Shepard and Will Arnett, and it was directed by Saul Goodman himself, Mr. Bob Odenkirk. So the story follows lifelong jailbird John Lashinsky, played by Dax Shepard, who, after getting out of prison, decides he's going to take revenge on the judge who put him there. When that plan is thwarted, he instead turns his sights on the judge's son, played by Will Arnett, and decides that he's going to give Will Arnett's character the authentic prison experience like he had. So almost everyone I tell about this film has never seen it, never heard of it. Most people don't know who Dax Shepard is. I'm like, it's Kristen Bell's husband. They're like, who's Kristen Bell? And I'm like, watch more movies, guys. But it's really a shame because this is just a fun movie with a lot of quirky characters, a lot of great moments, and a lot of really memorable lines. It also features a lot of cameos from a lot of quirky character actors where you're going to see him and you're going to go, that guy's in that thing. Do you remember? And you're going to poke your friend and it's going to bother all of you until you pause the movie and you look it up on IMDb who the guy's name was. And you're like, you know, the guy from The Thing. And everyone's like, oh yeah, that thing. We know The Thing. One thing that really surprised me going into this film is that Dax Shepard and Will Arnett are actually able to carry the film the whole way through. Before seeing this film, I never would have expected that those two could carry a film. I always saw them as more kind of side characters, like Dax's character in Idiocracy or Will Arnett in Arrested Development. They're there for comedic relief, but I never saw them as meaty actors who could carry a role. And after watching this, I really gained a new respect for Dax Shepard and found out that he's also a writer and a director. He wrote and directed both Hit and Run and Chips, the 2017 version. And he's got a great podcast. And I mean, he's married to Kristen Bell. So this guy is just killing it. And he's just flying under the radar of Hollywood, it seems like. And I don't know why he's not in more things. He's great. So one thing I really do like about this film is it's got a pretty unique storyline. You know, a lot of times comedies rely on tropes and well-worn storylines, but this film really doesn't. It's kind of new and unique. It's not something you see every day, and that's really refreshing coming from the comedy sphere. I will warn you at times, though, that sometimes the humor can get a little vulgar, and if you remember 2000s comedy, sometimes it gets a little edgy, but this film holds up pretty well. There's not a lot of bad jokes in it that don't hold up in 2020, and I would say it's still a great film to watch. So one thing I didn't care for is that, like most comedy films, the cinematography really isn't anything to write home about. Now, that's pretty common. You need those wide shots in comedy to be able to capture the actors who are giving you different takes, different act outs, maybe they're ad-libbing lines, and that's a lot harder to do when you're on those tight beauty shots. But one thing that almost all comedies can improve on is they can improve their set design, they can improve their art direction, and they can even improve the lighting, and that would really pump up the production value and tell a much more visually interesting story. And that just didn't happen here, which, again, it's a quirky comedy, the budget's probably pretty low, so we can forgive it. Another thing that I didn't totally love was, like a lot of other performances, Will Arnett can sometimes be just a little bit over the top. If you've seen Arrested Development, you know what I'm talking about. Or if you've seen Arrested Development and you don't know what I'm talking about, you probably won't notice this at all, and you probably won't care. But since it's a quirky comedy film, we can again kind of excuse this because it's not really meant to be realistic. It's quirky, it's fun, you just kind of go with it. So all that said, I think it's just a really solid, quirky comedy film. If you're a fan of Arrested Development, or Will Ferrell, or Ben Stiller, or Andy Samberg classics like Hot Rod, this movie will feel right at home for you. I think you'll really enjoy it. And that said, I definitely recommend this film, but I will warn you that there is some vulgar humor. But again, if you like Will Ferrell or Ben Stiller or Andy Samberg films, you're probably a fan of those things too. So if you guys end up checking out this film, please come back, drop me a comment below, let me know what you think about it. I'd love to talk with you about it. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. It helps me out so much. And that said, I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching, everybody.